Hello and welcome to Star Citizen. In this video, I'm going to take you through the cockpit step by step. If you've ever sat down at a ship and thought, now what? This is for you. I'll also have some tips and tricks about other things even veteran players don't know about. We'll go over powering on, flight controls, weapons, navigation, and even how to talk to the ATC in land. By the end, you'll have the basics to go from a dead ship to a confident first flight. When you first sit down in the cockpit, it'll feel like nothing works. The screens are dark, your HUD is gone, and your ship feels lifeless. The very first thing you'll want to do is press U on the keyboard. Think of this as flipping the main breaker. All your systems wake up, the HUD appears on your visor, and your cockpit displays light up, and you can finally see your ship's status. But your engines are still cold. To bring your ship to life, go ahead and press I. You'll hear the whine or rumble of the drive spooling up. Depending on your ship, that sound means you're no longer just sitting in the seat. You're in a powered vessel that's ready to fly. Now, I will let you know there is a shortcut. If you hit right Alt R, then you can go ahead and power all these systems on at once, but I like to power it on one at a time just because not every situation you're going to want to power everything up or you're going to want to power everything down, so I like to have you get used to that first. Once your ship is on, two systems that are already running in the background are your shields and your weapons. You don't need to activate them manually, but you do need to know how to control them. Press O if you want to toggle your shields off. Maybe you're docked and don't need the extra power draw, or maybe you just need to take your shields off because maybe you're going to use your tractor beam to move your ship around. You never know. Let's go ahead and turn them back on using O. Now, if you want to disable your weapons, go ahead and press P. You know, sometimes you're just not always going to be gung-ho, and that's how you'd go ahead and turn them off and turn them on. But the real lifesavers are your countermeasures. H on the keyboard will launch flares, which I will tell you right now, there is a way to set how many you're going to launch when you press that button. You go ahead and hit right Alt and H, and then H again and again and again. You'll see that number on your HUD continue to go up. I recommend anywhere between 5 to 10 flares for a single button press because that's going to be the amount you'll need to usually take care of any missiles coming your way. Now, J launches decoys or chaff, which typically confuses a radar and cross-section locks, allowing you to avoid being detected a lot of times during fights, and it's actually a viable tool to use when you're in the middle of a dogfight and you want them to lose track on you. The key here is muscle memory. The first time a missile comes screaming your way, you don't want to think about which button it is, you want your fingers to already know. Before you leave the pad or come back down, you need clearance from the ATC or air traffic control. There are 3 ways to get at it. Open your MFD comms tab, select the top contact, usually the station or town that you're in, and click, call. Use your mobiGlas comms section and call the station from there. Or the fastest way is to left Alt End for a quick request. Now you can also cycle through your MFDs on screen if you wanted to go ahead and find a comms tab, and then you see like this, Seraphim Station, hail. Once you do that, the hangar above you, if there is no queue, should begin to open. Once you have clearance, go ahead and start lifting off. You'll go ahead and see that you are lifting off, so you need to put up your landing gear. How do you do that? Go ahead and press N on the keyboard, and that will raise your landing gear. Now, if you ever need to auto dock for any reason, maybe you're just not comfortable landing yet, you go ahead and press and hold N on the keyboard, and it will go ahead and take care of that for you if your landing gear are down and you're closer to the ground for it to use that. That goes with docking a ship as well. Now, if your ship has any sort of VTOL on it, you can go ahead and press K on the keyboard, which will activate or deactivate the VTOL. Let's go ahead and continue to lift off and get out of the hangar so we can continue our next discussion. So I'm going to go ahead and pull forward here, and I'm going to come to a stop so we're right in the open. Now, before I talk about targeting or master modes or anything else, let's talk about flight controls. This is the fun part. Movement, right? These are your bread and butter flight keys when you're out there in the verse, when you're fighting, when you're flying, when you're doing a few other things. Obviously, if you're on a keyboard starting off, that's fine. WASD is how you're going to typically move your ship around. To go ahead and push up or down is spacebar or control, which will allow you to move up or down. Strafing left and right is going to be your A and D, and then your mouse will go ahead and help you turn and focus which direction you need to look. But there are many other keys to help you in this process. Let's start with these important keys to remember. Left shift, which gives you a boost. They're pretty much afterburners and does help you with maneuverability, allowing you to move quicker, but it does drain quickly, so try not to use all your boost right away. Left Alt C toggles cruise control when your ship is coupled in coupled mode, which you can go ahead and tell when looking at your HUD. If you look right here, you'll see this little circle with an arrow up, which means you're in coupled mode. What coupled and decoupled means is when you're coupled, the ship, when you move, and then you stop moving, the ship will correct and stop you again. Now, if you're decoupled, which if I press C on the keyboard and you see that symbol disappears, and then I go ahead and strafe left, as you can see, my ship is going to hold its speed. I'm no longer holding the button, but it's continuing to go that speed in that direction. I would say get used to flying decoupled as much as you can though, as that will be the most important down the line. Now, X is your space brake. Hit it when you need to stop as quickly as you can. What that's going to do is fire your forward thrusters, hopefully stopping you sooner than if you were just hitting S and hoping that that was enough, because it does somewhat of a boost, but forward. One of the most important cockpit tools is switching between navigation mode and SCM mode. Go ahead and hold B to switch modes. You'll see the drive spools up and then your shields drop. When you're in navigation mode, you do not have shields, you do not have weapons, and at the current time, you do not have any sort of flares or decoys, so no countermeasures to help you. But what you do have is a much bigger amount of speed that you can obtain, which typically is over 1,000 SCM, depending on the ship that you're in. This mode allows you to go ahead and jump around the system. By focusing on a circle that you see in front of you, your drive will begin to calibrate, and once that completes, you would go ahead and just hit left mouse button and it will usually jump you to the target that you're facing. Now let's say you are in the area that you want to be. The best idea is to put yourself back into SCM mode, which is standard combat maneuvering. This is your everyday flight and dogfighting mode. When you're near stations, in atmosphere, or in combat, you'll want to be in SCM. Now, while in both of these modes, you can go ahead and switch between different modes within them that allow you to use different items. Currently, I'm in, as you can see, SCM gun mode. If I hit middle mouse button, it switches me to SCM missile mode, allowing me to use the missiles I have on my ship. I will advise you, do not lock any targets near a home station or any other stations that have an armistice zone, as you will become hostile and engaged. If you hit middle mouse button again, it'll take you to SCM scan mode, allowing you to scan targets around you to see what they might be, what they might have in the ship, and who might be flying it. If you hit it again, it'll go right back to SCM gun mode. In some ships, it'll take you to a scanning. In some ships, it'll take you to a salvage or a mining mode, allowing you to use the devices on your ship just for that. Now, when you're in navigation mode, you'll see it says Nav QT, which means you're going to be jumping around location to location because you were in quantum travel mode. If I hit middle mouse button, it'll switch you to nav flight, which this does is it takes all the markers off your screen and you don't have to listen to that annoying beep while you fly around, and you can fly at speed, unprotected, but at speed. If I hit it again, nav scan mode, where you can go ahead and scan ships, once again looking for a name, cargo, whatever you might be looking for. If I go ahead and hit it again, I'm back in nav quantum mode. Let's talk targeting really quick, because targeting is going to be something you're going to do a lot. To go ahead and do that, go ahead and look at the target in front of you and press T. When you do that, it will target whatever is around you. If you continue to press T, it'll cycle through any other targets in the general area. But let's go ahead and just target, let's say, the ship down here. This ship coming this way is a Hull C, which is a huge cargo freighter, and it's coming our way right now. This is a player-controlled ship, and I can go ahead and scan that if I wanted to, but left Alt-T will go ahead and remove all targeted ships from my crosshairs. Now, you have to be careful. When you target a ship, it does pop up on their dashboard that they are being radar targeted. So be wary of that, as you might not want to start a fight if you don't mean to. Once you have a ship targeted, there is going to be something that appears once you get close enough called the pip. The pip is what you're going to be aiming your crosshair at to hit the target, and that's going to allow you to do damage to whatever you're fighting. As you can see on screen, the pip has appeared. Now it's red, which means I am in distance to go ahead and fire. When I put my crosshair onto that pip, it will go ahead and turn green, allowing me to, basically saying, hey, you're good to fire. You're more than likely going to hit your target. Now, I do have to say, as a beginner, try not to target any ships and shoot at them from anything further than 1,000 meters, because usually you're not going to hit nearly as well and the pip will be much further from their ship. So do what you can to be as close to your target as possible when engaging. Sometimes you want to look around without changing direction. Well, to do that, go ahead and just press Z on the keyboard, which will allow you to go ahead and look around in your cockpit at everything that you have in front of you. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, once you are in the sky, make sure these top 3 things right here, right now. This is my tips and tricks to make sure you're going to survive your first encounter, or at least hopefully do a considerable amount of damage and put up a fight. First and foremost, flares are set to the appropriate amount. I have mine set at 5 right now. Typically, I will set that to about 8. So I'm going to set that at 8 and I'm good to go there. Now, the next thing I want to check before I go anywhere outside of an armistice zone is my power distribution. Go ahead and look down and you'll see right here the power management screen. Now, once you focus in on this, you're going to see exactly how many more that you can put out here. So go ahead and do that. Now I have 0. Now I can't feel these other bars. Well, you can go ahead and scroll using the scroll wheel. Let's take some power from these coolers because honestly, they're not as important right now, allowing me to go ahead and fill up all my shields, because nothing worse than having all that shield strength but only using half of it. So right now I got full shield strength and full weapons. Now, if you're gonna get into a fight, sometimes not having any cooling might be the way to go, and go ahead and just power it all into engines, shield, and weapons. But this will mean that your infrared emissions will skyrocket, so be very careful about not having 1 pip at least inside of your cooler. I'd go ahead and just take that one away from the engines, because if they're shooting an infrared missile at you and your infrared is through the roof, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to avoid it. Now, the last tip when it comes to being out there in your craft, which this is something a lot of veterans don't even know. You can go ahead and look right at your radar screen right here. Take a look at it. It's pretty nice, isn't it? But if you look at it and then you use your scroll wheel, you can actually set a distance on what you want to see here. Right now, the numbers at the bottom on this ship are currently broken. But if you see me scroll wheeling here, you can see I'm zooming farther out and zooming farther in. So currently, I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to get these other radar pips in. So let's see how far that is. Currently, I have it set to about 15 kilometers because now I'm able to see that from that distance. Isn't that pretty cool? It's pretty nice to know this because then you can kind of see when targets are appearing on your radar from a much greater distance instead of the stock 5-kilometer window. So go ahead and make sure to set your radar where you feel comfortable before you get out there into any fight or just exploring the verse. Now, let's say you've landed your ship successfully and you aren't sure if you spent some ammunition or you might need some repairs. How do I go about taking care of that? As the last thing I want to let you know, go ahead and hit F1 on your keyboard and then go over to the landing icon in your MFD. From here, it'll tell you if you need any repairs, it'll tell you if you need to restock anything, or if you need to go ahead and refuel your craft. You'll do it all from here. Now, this is how much money it's going to cost, and this is how much money you have. So make sure that you have enough money to pay what you need to. If you don't, you might want to find another option until you're able to. Okay, so I'm going to show you everything I just did, but I want you to make this muscle memory, whether you're new or experienced, or you've been around for a while and you just haven't played a bit. Make it a muscle memory to do everything I do right here in my hangar. So I go up to my ship, I go ahead and hit F to enter. Once you're in the ship, some animations are longer than others. This might just take a quick moment, but once you're in your ship, the first thing I do, I hit U on my keyboard once the doors are closed. So I think I'm good to go. So U on my keyboard, okay? I make sure all my systems are online, everything looks good. I go ahead and hit I, get my engines powered on. Why not? And then I'm gonna go ahead and set my flares. I'm gonna go ahead and set it to, let's go ahead and go to 8. My typical amount. Now I'm going to look at my power distribution. I haven't even left the hangar yet because I want to make sure I'm ready for whatever's out there. Make sure you're in SCM gun mode. Your shields are going up so you can go ahead and make sure you're ready for whenever you need to be in that mode for the fight. Let's go ahead and take away most of these coolers, leaving one. Power up those shields to the max because that's going to be your most important tool outside of your weapons. And then let's put whatever we can into engines. Now at this point, you're good to go when it comes to your power management. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our radar. I think this is zoomed all the way in, so I'm going to zoom it out a little bit. I'm going to put it right about here. Now typically most ships will show you what the distance you're setting it to. This ship, not so much right now, but that's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit Hail or hit Left Alt N, and that'll go ahead and open the hangar as long as there's not a queue. Now, if there is a queue, it might take a minute. It might take about 5 minutes. It just depends on how quickly everybody gets out, but you should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Spacebar. Go make sure I'm not going to hit anything. I'm going to go ahead and lift my landing gear, and then I'm going to go forward. Try not to, fly into anything on your way out. And then once you're good to go, hit and hold B. Now my drive has been spooled. I am ready to fly. Now there is one other, tip I want to tell you for new players, because this happens a lot. Let's say you're flying your ship and for some reason you can no longer move left, right, up, or down. You can still strafe up, you can still strafe down, strafe right, strafe left, but your mouse doesn't seem to want to turn your ship. What is going on? Go ahead and hit right shift. You'll see the symbol, which is, you can see it right here, a circle with the cross through it. Go bye-bye, and now you can go ahead and move your ship once again. This does tend to happen, especially if you're talking in global chat, which I always recommend if you ever need any help to talk in global, to come join us on our Discord, to come say hi, ask your questions. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I really hope this helps anybody new to the verse with the introduction to the cockpit, as it's going to be sometimes a little bit complicated. There are so many different keybinds out there for the cockpit, and there's a lot of things that you can do. The last thing I want to say is if you ever get in a situation where you need to get the heck out of your boat, go ahead and eject. Now to eject, you can either look right down, and usually it's going to be here, or it's going to be a button on the left there, and you can go ahead and hit that, or you can just go ahead and take the easy route, right? You can go ahead and hit right Alt Y. Now right Alt Y will eject you immediately out of your ship, and once you've done that, you'll be floating in space hoping for a ride. Goodbye, Avenger Titan. Thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.